Why respecting experts and lifelong learning is a key to success. Many people don't actually respect experts, as crazy as that seems. They think they have all the answers. They think they're smarter than other people and they have all the knowledge. Well, that's never the case. Now, Serena will emphasize the fact that information and learning is one of the keys to your transformation. So it takes a little bit of humility, right? To admit we don't know things, to admit there's more out there to learn. But there's nothing wrong with that. In that particular case, if you don't have the humility to accept those things, you're never going to learn the way you need to learn and gather the information you need to have in order to be successful. Serena had a college professor. His name was Jerry Fake. And Jerry's impact on Serena was one thing that prompted this video and what we're talking about today, and that's that respecting of experts and that quest for knowledge. But learning results vary between person to person, but infusing new knowledge and infusing new ideas helps us continually tweak our approaches and becomes more effective. So we've got to understand the cause and effect of the learning curve. Because with everything, when we seek new knowledge, there's always a curve. And we also have to understand the ripple effects of seemingly innocuous actions that we take during our life, but how they actually affect the quality of our life. So the learning curve, back to that, is steep, especially at the beginning, but it tends to flatten out the more that we learn. So it's very challenging at first, which oftentimes can get people to stop or to give up. But just understanding that it's going to be steep when you start gives you the empoweredness you need in order to continue on that learning curve. But over time, again, as you're continuously learning, that steep curve starts to flatten out a little bit. And then it becomes exciting. It becomes empowering. And know that it's never just one curve. There's a lot to learn. So we're sometimes approaching different learning curves, several of them at one time. And those curves have their own curve, but they also interact. And sometimes they overlap with each other. So this process of learning and all the different areas we need to learn and improve in all interact, even though they have their own particular thing that we're seeking knowledge in. And these learning curves affect our personal life, our professional life, our relationships, our jobs. Basically, any aspect of our life that we want to improve and we want to be great at, there's going to be things we need to learn, thus the learning curve. But basically, when you understand all of this, it's like getting those puzzle pieces and putting them together appropriately to complete that puzzle. But we've got to understand, for years and years, there are records of all sorts of research and information out there, whether it's books, magazines, documentaries, in our era now, social media posts, blogs, newsletters, all of those things. There are all these sources of information that have been around for a long time and new ones that are constantly appearing in our environments. So we want to make sure that we're using these resources to constantly learn and also tapping into other people for their knowledge. Right? That's one of the best places to get knowledge is in your network from other people, from people like Serena and myself. But with Serena, it was his love for books and just reading in general that really prompted him to realize the more you learn, the more you go out there and you seek knowledge, the more you crave to learn from experts, the more powerful of a person you become, thus leading to new ideas and new approaches. So when it comes to learning, what you want to do is not only take all of those traditional mediums, right? The great books, the great documentaries, all of those things, but you also want to stay informed about your specific interests and your specific industry through more current things like blogs and trade journals and organizations. Connect with those people, the people that are going to have the experience, knowledge that you need to be successful, people that have sort of went to the places that you want to go. Don't just try to reinvent it and do it by yourself. YouTube is another big way to learn. It's now the second largest search engine. There is so much information on YouTube if you're just willing to take your time, seek it out, and then vet it. Obviously, vetting information in today's world is very important because anybody can put anything out. So you have to make sure that the source you're getting your information from is a valid source. And one of those things too is getting feedback from trusted sources. That's another way to grow. We think of knowledge as just things we read and learn and that people tell us, but it's also seeking feedback. So finding business coaches like Serena, finding other mentors where you can actively seek feedback, because feedback is one of the best ways to grow. And the thing about feedback is many people, just like we talked about humility being required for you to be able to learn, right? You got to accept the fact, you got to be humble in that I don't know everything. I've got to seek information. I've got to respect experts. It's the same thing with feedback, because when you hear feedback, some of it's going to be critical, but it's that sort of feedback, if you're humble and willing to accept it, that can really help you learn. That's part of that continuous lifelong journey of learning and educating yourself. And the rarity of people asking for feedback is just baffling to us because it's such a powerful thing. But because not many people do it, if you are one of those people that constantly seeks feedback, you're going to be one of the most successful. So think about that with feedback too. It's not just give me feedback. Emphasize what are you trying to accomplish? What is your goal? And then think of what are the best questions that you can ask for feedback on. What are the areas you can ask for feedback on that are going to be most productive for your personal growth, learning, and development? Understanding that there will always be questions. And even when we have a question answered, things evolve, things change is part of this learning curve. You never learn it all. You never have enough knowledge. And that's why it's so important to seek out mentors, coaches, consultants, and masterminds and those sort of groups for larger goals. The self-made person is a myth. We hear those stories about a self-made person, but it's never that way. People always have support of friends and family and business coaches and mentors and all of those different things, mastermind groups that help them develop. It's those people who know where to seek knowledge, actively seek knowledge, and seek feedback that are going to be the most successful. So the other thing too is with information, there can be an overload. So prioritizing what you want to learn is important, and understanding there has to always be a refocus on learning, especially in this information age where we are bombarded by information left and right. So what we want to do is when we're surfing the internet, when we're reading books, again, we want to take our time. We want to slow things down. Serena is a sponge for information. And he used to just plow through books left and right. But what he realized, and blogs and podcasts and all these different information sources, but what he realized is he became so much of a junkie that he wasn't quite learning everything he needed to when he was going through these processes. So he wants to emphasize that you need to slow down, take your time, read things twice, listen to things twice, take notes so you really get immersed. And well, that's one thing he doesn't want you to be confused about is when you're going through this learning process, it's not about volume, even though there's so much to learn, and we've been saying that this whole video. It's about taking your time and really getting the best information and processing, remember, and being able to utilize that information. So again, you want to develop a reverence for information. You have to have a thirst for knowledge. When you become that person, it's a giant step in the right direction for creating a mindset that develops you in a way that's going to set you up for success and a deep respect and understanding of why information is so important.